All right, okay. What is up, ladies and gentlemen of TikTok and of YouTube? I've been away for a little while. Some stuff been happening in the personal life and this and that and the other thing and blah 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 blah. But look, we're not really here to kind of be talking about that. But what we are here to be talking about is there's been some stuff that's been going on. Now I haven't had a chance to kind of change the background or anything like that yet, but been some stuff that's been going on lately, with an owl. There's an app that's been in the news a little bit recently. Believe it goes by the name of Signal. It's been a point of what people have been talking about. I mean, Jesus Christ above. I mean, like, that is just a fuck up of epic proportions. Like, literally epic proportions. The idea that, I mean, like, Signal was used as a group chat for, like, top secret military information. I mean, it was used to, like, basically, it was used to, it was a group chat that, like, JD Vance, that Tulsi Gabbard, Marco Rubio, there was like Pete Hegseth, there was a bunch of other kind of people in it, like top. We're not talking just like staffers here. We're talking like top like cabinet officials and stuff like that. And the idea that they had kind of been on here and had you can't hear me. You can hear me. I'm looking at the audio levels. Why are you lying to me, Scott? Wow, okay. The fuck was I saying? Yes. That this was being used as like a messaging app for this. By the way, the Pentagon told them like a week ago that that Signal was not like secure enough to be used as like an interdepartmental kind of messaging chain for like for this sort of stuff. You shouldn't be using it for that sort of stuff anyway, not for that sort of topic and for that sort of like battle plans and stuff like that. But B, I mean, like, it's just ridiculous. Yeah, I mean, like, if this was, and there was like the hearing yesterday. I'm after seeing clips of the hearing from today, but I mean, like, the hearing yesterday was, well, it's classified, but it's not really classified. It is, but it's also not. So it's not actually really a problem that it was on a group chat, but we can't actually release the things that was being said to you, even though it's not classified, because it actually is, but we're just saying that it's not. And it's I mean, like, it's just insane. It's absolutely insane. Like, the thing about it is, the things that they are doing, the things that they have talked about, the things that they have done, if that was just like a serving member of the military, okay, if that was just like a soldier who was in the military, they would... Guys, I am not on mute. Okay. If there's people in my YouTube live, can go over onto my TikTok. Okay, so yeah, so you can hear me. Jesus Christ, you can hear me. What the fuck? Okay. The idea is, yeah, that if like an active member of the military was to do the exact same thing they have done, they would be court-martialed. So the idea that this is just like a whatever is just insane. Whoever just asked if you can join, yes, you can. Okay, there was somebody there who then joined away a little bit very soon, but it wasn't actually the same username or anything else. Could be a troll. Yeah, that was the other thing that's happened. Yeah, if you go over onto my link tree that's in my bio, there's going to be a link there to a Discord server that I had, which I have recently deleted. And the reason that I have deleted it is because I was doxxed. Not in the sense that like, you know, like someone knows like my home address or anything else like that. Like it wasn't quite that serious. But yeah, I was doxxed, and like there was people like who found my like Facebook profile and all this sort of stuff, right? And like look at, I'm not massively like concerned about it. Like I'm genuinely not. The only reason that I'm not is because the privacy settings and stuff like that I had on my Facebook was that only friends of friends can either view or add or look at my profile or anything else like that, right? So I know who it was. I know exactly who it was. So basically there was a friend of mine who's like has a degree in like computer science and all this sort of stuff and whatever else, and yeah, we have his IP address. And did you know that doxing is illegal in Ireland? So whoever that was, I'm sure it was fun, and I hope it was kind of worth it for, you know, the kind of couple of seconds that you got, literally, because as soon as that happened, I deleted the Discord server within like 2 minutes, 2 or 3 minutes, maximum 5. I'll say 5. I'll say 5. So yeah, that is so yeah, it is a crime. I know who it is, so you can be expecting a call from the authorities fairly kind of soon. Don't fuck with me, you know. Just man, listen. That's not even a kind of like a show of like macho or anything else. It's like, dude, like the idea that like somebody can fucking dox you and like can like it wasn't as serious with me. But the idea that like you can dox someone and you can find out like their fucking home address, where they work, all of this kind of personal information about them, like it's just really fucking sad, guys. Like I have like 1,000 followers on here, a little bit more than 1,000. The idea that you can come onto here and to like, you know, like in the grand scheme of things, like I'm not fucking big on this platform. Like you can unironically fuck up lives by doxing people. So just don't fucking do it. Like it's just as simple as that. I don't deserve one for that stupid flag in my name. Well, you know what? If you're unironically defending someone doxing, then you know, you're gone. You are gone. You'll never see this live again. Okay, so we do have the first person who's lined up. We're gonna go to the first guest, and yeah, we'll go from there.
Hello?
How you doing? What's your name, age, and pronouns?
Justin. 19, I'm just him.
Okay, and what do you disagree with on the board?
Well, I disagree with the transgender part.
Okay, why so?
Because a man cannot be a woman and a woman cannot be a man. Simple.
Okay, why do you think that?
Why do I think that? Because you are born what you are born as.
Sure. Okay. So, what would be the necessary condition to being a woman that would exclude trans women?
The necessary things of being a woman.
The necessary condition to being a woman.
Necessary condition. Well, necessary condition is that you are born as a woman. You have to be born as a woman to be a woman. It's not that hard.
Well, I don't think I don't think anybody is born as a woman. I don't even think you believe
Yeah,
that
you're born.
that
You're born
everybody
female.
is born
You're either
as a
born
woman.
female or male. You can't change
Well,
that.
yes. Oh, okay. Yeah. So you're talking about. So you're now conflating sex and gender terms. So male and female would be sex terms, and man and woman would be gender terms. So
Okay,
that's
so what makes a
specifically why-
transgender woman a woman?
Because they call themselves a woman, in the same way that
So if I
anybody
call
else.
myself a two-spirit penguin, am I a two-spirit penguin?
No, because a two-spirit penguin is not a gender.
Why not?
Because it's
Why
not a
not?
gender identity.
See, that's kind of hypocritical because I want to be a two-spirit penguin, but what men can call themselves a woman and they're a woman, like it makes sense, bro.
Okay, I mean, I think that kind of sucks for you, but a two-spirit penguin is not a set of gender pronouns. I think you need to go back to English.
Really, that's kind of hypocritical, don't you think?
No. Are you going to stop arguing like a child and argue in good faith?
Well, no, I'm just using basic common sense because you think a woman
No,
can be
you're
a
not.
man and a man can be a woman.
No, you're not. You're not using basic
No, I'm
common
using
sense
basic
because if
sen-
you were
basic common
using
sense.
no, if you were using basic common sense, then you would know that two-spirit penguin is not a set of gendered pronouns, and it is not a gendered
Okay.
identity.
So what?
So we are talking about gender and about gender identity, and you are
Okay.
bringing up something that is not a gender identity
Okay, why is a trans woman a woman then?
because they call themselves a woman. The same way as when a cis woman calls themselves a woman, that is what makes them a woman.
Okay, so you notice like just because you call yourself a woman doesn't mean you're a woman.
Why not? Cis women do it all the
Why
time.
not? Because you can call yourself a woman, but you don't have the abilities that a woman can do. You know.
Such
You
as?
you can call yourself a woman,
Such as
but
what,
you don't,
what
but you
would
don't,
be
but you don't have a
No,
you don't
no,
have a
no, 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 no,
what do you
no.
call this?
such as what would be some of the abilities that a man or that a woman can do that a man cannot?
Well, giving birth.
Now we're actually getting into okay. So you see, so now we're actually getting into the necessary condition to answer portion of what we're talking about, which is kind of what I asked you at the start. However, there are biological women who cannot give birth. Are they still women?
Yes, because they had the ability to give birth, but now they
Well,
don't anymore.
no, they never did. That's why they are
Well,
not able.
well, they
That's
did.
why they are not
Now they
capable of
can't.
giving birth. You
Well,
realize
they
that
could, but now they can't.
You realize that there is a cis woman in their like early 20s who is not capable of getting pregnant, right? Are
Well, they
still a
were, but now
woman?
they're not anymore.
No, they never had the ability. You are fundamentally
did.
uneducated about female anatomy, like fundamentally uneducated. You
Okay,
are
you think
either,
a man can be a
you
woman,
are
so you're more
either-
uneducated, bro.
No, you.
Plus, you have
that's-
LGBTQ
that's
and Free
cute.
Palestine. That's hypocritical, bro.
No,
Your
it is
bio,
absolutely
it
not.
says
Dude,
LGBTQ
are you
ally
going
and
to
you support
stop?
Palestine, bro.
Are you going to stop pivoting and actually stay on topic, or do you just want to fucking like be like Ross in that
it's
one
kind of
episode of
confusing, bro,
Friends,
because you
pivoting
support
all over the
LGBTQ
place?
and you support Free Palestine. Choose one, bro.
I don't have to choose one. I can be.
Yeah, because you know what they do to LGBTQ people in Palestine, bro?
Do you actually have any idea how far we have pivoted? Are you capable of staying on point and talking about one thing at a time before you pivot on to the next thing?
I mean, like you're kind of like double standards, bro. Like
It's yeah. So you do just want to stay pivoting onto something
well, I'm not
else then.
pivoting. I'm just saying,
You
like
absolutely
you're
are
just
because
kinda
we start. No,
hypocritical, you know?
We absolutely are because we started out talking about gender and we were talking about it for quite some time, and now you have pivoted to LGBTQ and to Palestine. That has nothing to do with gender. There's nothing to do with the conversation that we were having 2 minutes ago. So you have absolutely pivoted away.
Okay, cool.
Well, yeah, sure. It's cool if you if you don't want to have
So
an
what?
argument in good faith. But if you don't want to have an argument in good faith, then I don't have to sit up here and listen to you, and neither does,
Bro, you're the one that's
does my
thinking a
audience.
man can
So
be a
fuck
woman, bro.
off. Simple as that. Genuinely, if you unironically cannot stay on one fucking topic, like seriously, jumping all over the fucking place. How you doing? What's your name, age, and pronouns?
Lil, I'm 18, 2006, and she, her.
Okay, what do you disagree with on the board?
Trans men and women.
Okay, why so?
And obviously, on the last guest, I heard you talking about, female anatomy, so coming from a woman, I want to talk about that.
Okay, what do you like? What
So,
specifically do you want to talk about?
so let's talk about biological men from birth, born as males, then wanting to transition into women when they get older. So, a woman is born with XY chromosomes, am I right?
Yeah.
Yeah, right. And that factors in to an individual being a woman and identifying as a woman. Now we're going to female anatomy now. So females predominantly born with a pair of ovaries, uterus, the ability to grow and develop breasts, and standard female anatomy between the legs, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, sure. I mean, like,
So,
not every biological woman is capable of doing that, but sure.
and I know that some women, biological women, cis women as you call them, aren't able to become pregnant or have periods, and I get that, but the ability is still there, whether it can happen or not. But then let's talk about biological men then wanting to become women without the ability to have any of those things. They don't have ovaries, they don't have a uterus, they don't have the ability to carry a baby. Whether a biological woman can or cannot have a period, trans women cannot have periods. We're not talking about biological women being unable to.
Right. So you
We're
understand that
talking,
not all biological cis women are born with ovaries, right?
yeah.
Right. So then clearly whether or not you possess a set of ovaries or you possess a uterus, that does not make you a woman. So what does make you a woman?
And then that's why I talked about XY chromosomes.
Right. Yep, same thing. Not every single
So
biological woman is born with XY chromosomes.
every biological woman, to be a woman, has to be born with XY chromosomes.
Nope, not the case. So
And then men are born with XX.
no, so you are going to have people who are born with XXY or XXYX or XYXX or like about 50 other kind of variations of them. So it's not 100% kind of clear. It's not a strict binary. That's why sex is not a strict binary either. But there are people who are born with, let's just say, XYXX chromosomes that you
Yeah,
would
you're
call a
talking about
biological
intersex
woman.
individuals.
Yeah, so intersex is nothing to do with it has
But that is
something, but that's not
extremely rare.
yeah, but that's not specifically what we're talking about. The point is that not every single biological woman, even people that you yourself would call a woman, is born with XX chromosomes.
Yeah,
Simply
but I'm
not the
not
case.
talking about the very rare case of
Right,
intersex.
right. But the point that I'm making is that not everybody who fits into the category of woman, even by your standard, fits your standards of having the correct set of chromosomes. So if you are willing to allow people into the category of woman who do not fit the chromosomal standard, then why would you not let trans women into that category too?
Because trans women, biological men, don't have the abilities that, well, I don't agree with the term cis, but I'm going to call them cis to your standards, I'm guessing. So, biological men who then grow up and decide to become a woman do not have the same abilities a quote unquote cis woman does. Because a trans woman does not have the same abilities as me, as a cis woman.
Well, what would those abilities be? I mean, like, there are lots of men who are like
Conceptually,
shit hot at art, but I can't draw for fuck. So that would be an ability that they have that I don't have. But I suspect that's not really what you're talking about,
we're talking about bodies here.
right? So what would be the abilities that that a cis woman would have that a trans woman wouldn't? And we've already dealt
Right.
with.
First off, let's differentiate, right, the ability to be able to produce children from being a cis woman and the ability to produce children from being a trans woman. Whether a biological woman can or cannot, that is not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about a trans woman being unable to reproduce.
Right, but there are some cis women who are unable to as well. But you
know
would
that-
still,
that's what
but
I'm
right,
talking about.
yeah. But you would still count them as women, though. So if you would count somebody who was born biologically female who was not able to give birth, you would still categorize them as a woman. So now you have a trans woman who too is equally unable to give birth, but why would you not put them into the category of women?
Because it's different from cis women and trans women.
But the only thing that you brought up is that they're not able to give birth, but there are some cis women who are not able to give birth. So it clearly has to rely on something else.
And I've told you to differentiate between those points of a cis woman and a trans woman being able to reproduce.
But whether
a cis woman can or cannot.
But what's the difference, though? A cis woman is able to give birth. There are some cis women who are not able to give birth. Trans women are not able to give birth, but you're not willing to put them into the same category as men. Like as women. I'm just genuinely not clear on why you think that.
The difference that you're going on about is trans women and then cis women both being unable to have a certain ability. But cis women and trans women are very, very different.
Well, cis women,
Because
yeah, but of course there are of course there are differences. There are all different types of women.
Because if you're born with male anatomy at birth, you cannot then become a woman.
Why not?
And I'm not talking about intersex people being born with both genitalia. I'm talking about cis women being born with the anatomy that I have as a woman, and then the differentiation between a cis woman being born with that anatomy and then a trans woman getting surgery to have that anatomy. Do you understand what I'm saying?
No, not at all. I have no idea why you don't put trans women into the category of women, because everything that you have brought up so far, oh well, trans women don't have this thing, right? And you've mentioned about 3 or 4 of them now. They don't have this thing, right? But there are cis women, there are biological women who also cannot do 3 or 4 of the things that you have mentioned, but you're still willing to put those biological women into the category of women. But you are not willing to put trans women into that category, and I cannot understand why, because you haven't. Right. Okay, so it doesn't actually matter then, right? But okay, so it doesn't actually matter whether you can or can't give birth. It doesn't matter whether you can or can't have ovaries. It doesn't matter whether you can or can't have a period or have any of the 3 or 4 things that you have mentioned. It just means that if you are biologically a woman, then you are a woman, right? So if you are presented with somebody who has XY XX chromosomes, right? That's what their chromosome set is. But they have all of the female anatomy, they have gone through female puberty. What would you categorize them as? Because it can't be women. If that's what your criteria is, that if you were born as biologically women, that means XX chromosomes. If you have somebody who is physiologically almost identical to you, but that they have XYXX chromosomes, what would you class them as?
Sorry, repeat that last bit again.
If you have somebody who is physiologically the same as you, but they have XYXX chromosomes, what category would you put them into?
People, yeah.
But what category would you put them into?
If you do
This
not
is
have
not
female
that's
chromosomes,
not that's not intersex, right? Okay, so somebody who has all of the female anatomy, they have gone through female puberty, they have all of the same experiences of living as a woman as you do, but simply because they don't have XX chromosomes, that means that they're not a woman. So what are they?
if you don't have the woman chromosomes, you're not a woman.
So what are they?
It's all about DNA.
So what are
You'd be
they?
intersex.
We're not talking about intersex. So what
You're
are they?
either a man or a woman.
So
You're
what
either a man or a
so
woman.
what are they?
Not a woman, mate.
So they have the same sex organs that you have. They have gone through female puberty, but you don't class them as a woman.
If they do not have the chromosomes that women have,
So
they are not a woman.
okay, so I'm going to ask you then for about the 12th time. So what are they?
Do you know what? I'll say a man.
Right, okay.
Sorry,
so,
what
so,
chromosomes do they have again?
So XYXX.
Right.
They are physiologically
What's the
identical to
question?
you, but you think that they're a man.
Right, X. What was it? X, Y, X.
XYXX.
Yeah, they're a man. If you are born with an extra X chromosome, you are a man.
Well, actually, if you're no.
It's a syndrome. I can't think of the syndrome, but it's called something.
Okay, so first off, so no, from the moment of conception we are all biologically female, and it is only when the S or Y gene then kind of reacts appropriately that the second X chromosome turns to Y. That's what makes me biologically male. So
Right, I've googled it. Right,
Right, so-
Klinefelter syndrome, where boys and men are found with an extra X chromosome. Chromosomes are packages of genes found
Right,
in
but
every
we're
cell
not-
in the body, so they are men.
Right,
If you
but
have
we're
an
not.
extra X
But,
chromosome,
but
you are
we're
a
not
man.
talk. But we're not talking about that though. We're talking about somebody
was
who is.
talking about
No, I absolutely wasn't.
Yeah.
Because if you had your
You
listening
asked me.
ears on, then you would have heard the now 5 times that I'm going to say that if somebody is physiologically identical to you, but do not have the same set of chromosomes you do, then what are they? If you had listened to me the past 4 times that I've said that, then you would know that I am not talking about men. I am talking about women.
Right, but they're a man if they're born with an extra X chromosome.
I mean, this is just insufferable. This is so weird. Even though
You're not
you are
getting
like
it.
quite clearly a woman, I don't think you know what a woman is. I genuinely don't think that you know what it is.
I am a woman, you are a man, talking about what women are. I am a woman.
Yes, exactly. Yes, exactly. And somehow you don't know because you are talking about somebody who is, again, okay. It is either that you don't know what a woman is or you don't know what the words physiologically identical means. I don't think that you know what that means, because if you were presented with somebody that is physiologically identical to you and you were going to sit there and call them a man, then you are calling yourself a man.
I'm born with women chromosomes. I'm not born with extra X.
Okay. So which one is it? Do you not know what a woman is, or do you not know what the term physiologically identical means? Which one is it? Because at this stage, have we? Considering that we have gone around and round and round in circles for the last 13 minutes now, it is one or the other. So, do you not know what a woman is, or do you not know what the term physiologically identical is? Which one is it?
Can I talk about you interrupting me?
You can answer the question.
Right, so a woman is a human adult female.
No. So which one is it? Do you? Okay. So you know what a woman is. You don't know what the term physiologically identical means. Well, that was 13. That was now 14 minutes and 15 seconds of my life. I will not get back. This has been insufferable. How you doing? What's your name, age, and pronouns?
Hello, my name is Eamon, and I'm 22, and my pronouns are he, him.
Whoever that was, mods, if you got it, ban him, please. Actually, you don't need to. I already did. I got him. For anybody who is new in the live chat, this band of about 3 or 4 people have been coming on with different usernames using the exact same voice. I can tell that you're a troll. It's honestly pathetic at this stage. Anyhow, how you doing? What's your name, age, and pronouns?
Hi, my name's Jaden. I'm 23 and I'm a he, him.
Okay, and what do you disagree with on the board?
I don't necessarily disagree, but I had this debate arguing what you're arguing for now about the trans man woman. And I got caught up on the definition. And I'm just kind of playing devil's advocate to understand how you would argue against what I believe was like a fair argument that I was given. So they basically said that there's no categorical way to define a woman that doesn't overlap with the category of man. And I would like to understand, or I guess, figure out how that applies in, I guess, your frame of reference and what you think about the definition of a man and a woman.
Well, I mean, it depends on what definition that they're using. So, I mean, like, if
Just the
if
standard
they're just
dictionary, the
using-
one. Sorry.
Right, yeah. But that's exactly what I'm saying, though. So if they're using like just like the Oxford English Dictionary, then it might be a little bit kind of harder to. Like I prefer to kind of go to the Merriam-Webster kind of biological dictionary definition, which I mean like a man and a woman. Then, like my definition of a man, just for example, is an adult member of the human race whose personal schema aligns with the male sex. The definition for a female would be an adult member of the human race whose personal schema aligns with the female sex. The two definitions are almost identical, but the reason that you kind of have it that kind of broad and that kind of loose of a definition is because, you know, like as soon as I did with the previous guest, you can kind of say, well, so somebody who was born biologically female, right, who has XX chromosomes, but they don't have a uterus, are they still a woman? Right? So if you were to define a woman as, you know, an adult female who can give birth, right, you are therefore excluding every adult female who can't give birth, but they're still a woman, right? So that's why you kind of have to make that definition so kind of broad as to be inclusive of everybody.
Okay, I understand where you're coming from now. And just to clarify, I'm kind of gonna like summarize what you said and how I interpreted it. You're saying that the category is broad, but there's still a distinction because you're aligning with either your perception of a female schema or a male schema. Okay, that makes sense. And would you agree then that that can't have like a fallacious categorical error in that somehow? Because that's what I kind of argued the same thing you did. I don't think I have very skilled debating skills, so I kind of got tripped up on if that was fundamentally incorrect, that there is no distinguished way to separate the categories.
No, so I mean, like, man and woman, they are gender terms, and I mean, gender is a social construct. It's literally something that we just made up. So in order to kind of fit into these like extremely broad categories of like, you know, men and women, right? So if I was to ask you to kind of define a man, right, you will probably give me some kind of rough sort of a definition, right? But then if I was to say to you, yeah, but I don't really quite understand what that means. So like, what would a man look like? Right? So you might describe a man as bald with a beard, right? These like same as I do. But the thing about it is, I can see from your profile picture, you don't fit that definition. So if I was to define a man as a bald bearded adult male, you don't fit the definition of man. That's why it has to be broad, because not every man is the exact same. Not every man is interested in the same things. Not every man is as prone to violence as the next. Not every man is brought up in the same sort of circumstances. Not every man has like gone through all of the things that would just say I or that you or that anybody else has gone through in their personal life. So the idea is that you have to make it kind of broad, right?
Okay, I appreciate you clarifying that for me. So I'll hop out and just keep listening. I agree with you on everything else.
Not about it all, man. Not about it all. Have a good one.
Yep, you too. Thank you.
Okay, we're gonna bring up who's been here for a while. How you doing? What's your name, age, and pronouns?
George 18 and he shot him.
Okay, and what do you disagree with on the board?
The trans one. But
Okay, why so?
I get where you're coming from, but what I'd say is that shouldn't there be like a legal definition which like protects biological women? Because say I went into like a female changing room just because I said I am a woman one day randomly, doesn't that like make the other biological females like uncomfortable? So like shouldn't there just be like a legal definition which says that a biological female should have their like toilets protected, and there should be like, you know, there has to be some level of biological distinction, or I don't know. I want to debate respectfully for you because I understand where you're coming from, but that's just something I'm just interested to hear.
Yeah, no, look, I mean, like, I've said it a few times on the live. I don't know if I've said it kind of recently, so I'll just kind of say it again. My kind of, like, attitude when I am debating with somebody, like, it is entirely dependent on you. Right, so I am essentially like a mirror. Okay, if you're going to come up here and be respectful and nice and everything else, then I'm going to be, I'm going,
Yeah,
going,
I want to
going
be
to be that back,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
If you start kind of shouting and over talking and acting like a dickhead, then I'm going to be a bigger one back. So it's just right. So yeah, so your kind of basic question then about, like, you know, shouldn't there be a legal definition? Well, I mean, there is a legal definition. It would be the definition of male and female. When it kind of specifically talks about, you know, like a hypothetical version of you who would be wanting to go into like the like kind of women's changing rooms and stuff like that. When trans people kind of first come out as trans, they don't like immediately from day one start going into the kind of woman's changing room or, you know, women's only kind of areas and stuff like that, right? They will like have to kind of change their phenotypic expression to like kind of more like kind of like even loosely fit into that sort of category of woman, right? So when it comes to the kind of like the like pitch of your voice, yes, you can get surgery to correct it, but you can kind of, you know, heighten it or lower it as it kind of needs to be. You when it comes to the like kind of basic sort of like dress sense or like attitudes or any of these sorts of things, you will start to kind of phenotypically express as female. So that's when you would then kind of like be able to kind of more so like blend in when you go into kind of women's changing rooms or, you know, etc.
Mm-hmm. But another thing I would say is also when you're talking about female, like what sort of characteristics does someone have to qualify as female? Because you said that, oh, well, they'll start acting like this or they'll start acting like that. Well, that doesn't matter. Surely there has to be like a biologic definition that stems from biology, because not all women are going to wear dresses or act feminine.
Sure.
But they're still women because I believe they have, you know,
so there wouldn't be a biological definition of what a man and a woman is, because like men and women is not a biological term. It would be a neurological term, maybe, definitely a sociological term, but it definitely wouldn't be a biological term, because the like field of study of biology would not have anything to do with what a man or a woman is. It would have something to do with what a male and a female is, but it's just the slight distinction between kind of gendered and sex language.
Okay, I understand now, but I still think there's a clear difference between a man, like like you put it, a cis man, and a trans man in terms of the biological difference. I think that is a difference that should be valued, and that has to translate in terms of the way they are treated in certain areas. But of course, I don't have a problem if a man wants to transition into a woman and become more feminine and be like that in society. What I'm saying is that it is difficult to have a definition that's so easy. Like I was watching before, your definition of a man and a woman, that's very open to a lot of people. So if I was to just say I'm a woman tomorrow, like I don't think that would make me a woman. I think you have to go through like a process, like transitioning.
Right, yeah, but that's why I said their personal schema aligns with the female sex.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is that when I mean personal scheme, I'm saying that has to, that takes a long time. You can't. I don't think you can just say, "Oh, I'm a man. I'm a woman." Like, it's a lot. It would be a long process, in my opinion, for that to happen. But anyways,
Yeah, I mean, sure, it might be a long process, but okay.
yeah. But also, do you really think that, like, when you were talking about, like, oh well, some women don't have periods, some women don't get pregnant, but those are like disorders. These are like, that's not like that's a medical disorder. Like, it's not like that's designed to happen. Like, that's like an actual disorder.
But are they still women?
Yeah, they're still women, but
Right, so
I
a
talk about is
right, so a trans woman wouldn't have a period. Well, they do and they don't. So a trans woman will go through, so like this is like really, really kind of strange, right? Because like, especially an awful lot of guys seem to think that like a period just consists of, the shedding of the kind of uterine lining, and like they're bleeding for a week, right? That's what an awful lot of guys think that a period is. It's not just that. I mean, like, it's also the kind of like the hormonal swings and the increase and the decrease in willingness to engage in sex, and there's like all different types of things that go into a period. Trans women experience all of the hormonal stuff. They don't have a uterus, so they don't have the shedding of the uterine lining, but they do experience all of the hormonal stuff. So they do kind of have a period. But if you were to describe somebody who was born as biologically female, right, who can't give birth, right, or if they were born with no uterus, you would still classify them as women. So a trans woman was born without a uterus, right? But you're not willing to classify them as a woman. But why?
Because they still are built around that potential to have children. Even if they can't physically have children, they still have in their body that potential to get pregnant, even if they can't physically.
But if a cis woman is born without a uterus, then they don't have that potential. I'm sorry, they literally don't.
Well, then there's other factors like chromosomes, and I know that woman you were debating before obviously got in a bit of a mess with that sort of things. Now that's a really difficult one, because I actually do agree with you that it's hard to know how to answer that, because there are certain people who have genetical conditions, which means there's different. So I actually accept that. So for me, I wouldn't know how to answer that, and I think that's okay to accept. But I think in the vast majority of people, they would be comfortable with just having a definition which fits most of the society, where it is excess chromosomes for biological females and XY chromosomes for biological males, which is a definition which I think is compatible with the majority of the society.
Sure,
and
but it's also wildly exclusionary.
Yeah, well, I don't know how many people are born with these chromosomes conditions, but
well, look, I mean, to me, I don't personally care if it's just one person. The point is that it's not like, if there is only one, and like it's significantly north of one. But even if there was only one, it in and of itself, it proves that sex is not a true binary, but also you now have to contend with, well, I mean, like, which category do you put that person into? Do you put them as a man or do you put them as a woman?
Yeah, it seems like the chat wants me out. But another thing, before I go, do you have a definition of what womanhood or manhood is, or do you think there's any specific qualities that someone or characteristics that someone needs to show in order for them to be a man and woman? Because surely these two definitions, like man and woman, they have value in some way. Like there has to be some attributes that they have which fits these definitions. Like for example, so when you say when there's the definition of a woman, for example, like what actually defines woman? Because it's okay to say, oh well, I'm a woman, but what are you? Do you actually mean by that?
Well, I mean, you kind of changed question because you started off asking about what womanhood or what manhood was, and then ended up asking
well,
about...
you can answer, but you can answer both.
Well, I mean, they're like kind of like I can give you a definition of manhood, but I mean, like it might like literally you might not agree with the definition because like I can only give you a definition of manhood based on my own personal experience of living as a man, but my personal experience might not be your personal experience, and so you might not then agree with my definition. So like, yeah, I mean, like, the only thing that I can kind of really do is just to reiterate the definition that I gave earlier for a man or a woman, which would be an adult member of the human race whose personal schema aligns with female sex, or the male sex then if it's a man.
But I just think that's just in my opinion, too open, and there has to be at least some specific...
Right, but it's open on purpose as to be inclusionary of everybody else who might not necessarily fit into one or either of those categories.
But what actual value do people who transition from man to woman actually get then? Because clearly they want to fit in with...
It's not about gaining or losing value.
Think is a woman.
They
want to classify as a woman. That's why men who transition to become women, they wear dresses, or most of them do wear makeups, most of them get surgery, because they know that there are certain attributes that you must get in order for society to view you as a woman.
Yeah, I mean, sure, but like, again, like it's open and it's broad, is to be inclusionary of other people. Listen, look, I think we've kind of gone around in circles just for the last kind of couple of minutes, so I am going to move on to the next guest.
Yeah, well, I've got to go now, but thank you for having me though.
No problem at all, man. No problem at all.
Yeah. See you. Have a nice day.
You too. Luca, it has been some time.
It has. I'm glad you're doing well, Stephen. I see 30 people in the live. Unfortunately, I heard what happened with the Discord, so that's a bit of a pity. If you're making another one, let me know, and I'll be sure to join. But I'm glad you're doing well.
Yeah, living the dream, boy. So anyway, what have you got for me today, Luca?
All right, down into it. Yeah, so I know we've been talking about, I've been listening for a while, and there's a lot of transgender talk. And one thing that you said, which is very interesting, which was that there has been cis women that can't give birth.
Mm-hmm.
So you sort of, you categorize them as not women, etc. And you can sort of put this in a mesh.
No, I didn't categorize them as not women.
Okay, you mind clarifying your point?
So if just because a woman cannot give birth does not make them not a woman.
Okay, and I think obviously, if there's a woman that was born without the capability to give birth, that is still a woman. And the sort of logic for that debate, which we disagree with, which is that women are in the nature to give birth. For example, if a frog was born without a leg, you'd still say that, frogs have 4 legs, and wouldn't say that frogs have 3 legs. It's in the nature of frogs to be born with 4 legs, even though one has been born with 3. That doesn't mean that frogs in general do not have that characteristic. That's why women are in the nature to give birth, and that's why that is a characteristic of a woman. Of course, there is some there's some rare chances that there can be women that are unfortunately not born with that capability. I understand that argument, but having that in the nature of being a woman categorizes it as a characteristic of being a woman.
Okay, I don't actually know if I disagree with you or not.
I mean, well, the sort of basis of the argument, which was that cis women don't give birth, and you're saying that transgender women share that characteristic, so that means that they're okay. But all transgender women cannot give birth. That's in their definition. Well, for the woman, it's in their nature to. Yes, there are some rare chances, but it's in their nature. That's why you can sort of separate those two categories, not by the absolute, rare 1% chance, but by the nature of those characteristics.
Okay, yeah, I mean, like there are all different types of kind of characteristics of like that, like will generally kind of fit most women, but that don't fit all women. But like simply because they don't fit like a certain group or like one particular woman does not make them not a woman.
I mean, yes, I understand, but they are in the nature to have those characteristics. If I were to say that I'm a transgender woman and, I was born a man, but all of a sudden, I can change my identity to a female, all of those people, except all of those people that were born a man do not have the characteristics of giving birth. That's why they are separate, which is that, the man that claims he's a woman is separate to the actual real woman. They don't fall in the same category as what it says that trans men and women are men and women, as it says on the back, like the back of the screen.
But I mean, like, what is a real woman?
A real woman is somebody who can give birth.
Right. So if you have a biologically cis woman born with XX
Yes.
chromosomes, has gone through female puberty, all of that sort of stuff, you would call them not a real woman.
No, I would.
Why?
Well, no. Excuse me. I would not call them a real woman if they're born a man.
Well, no. So you have somebody who is biologically female, but they cannot give birth. So would you call them a real woman or not?
I would call them a real woman.
Okay.
That's because it's in their nature. It's because it's in their nature. And by the way, that chance is a 0.1% chance. For example, most of the women that are born a woman can give birth, while all of the transgender women cannot. That's the difference.
Sure.
Okay, so just because you're categorizing as the 0.01% as the whole, like all of the women, because there's one chance of a woman not being able to be pregnant, you're categorizing them as the same as literally men born or women born as men that can't give birth. So they're in separate categories because of the argument that it's in their nature, even though, there is that 1% chance. That's the first one. I do want to move on to a different topic because
Yeah, okay.
obviously, sure. So a couple of things that happened. I mean, we've debated about a lot of stuff, Stephen, but the Department of Education getting shut down by Trump is something I want to bring up.
Yeah.
Obviously, I think that's I think that's a great thing, moving the funding back to the States. What do you think?
I think it's an absolutely horrific thing. I think it's a massive, like, it's just a massive attack on, like, education. And I mean, considering that Trump is who he is, I'm not exactly, like, surprised that he's attacking education, considering that, I mean, like, he is profoundly stupid. But, yeah, bringing the funding
Yeah, but
back
you
to the
understand that.
states, I mean, like, it's the same kind of basic kind of analogy of like why they got rid of Roe v. Wade, right? Is to bring it back to the states. I understand that this is to do with funding and this is to do with like a, you know, like a governmental kind of right and stuff like that, but
Yeah.
the idea of kind of bringing things back to the states and like states' rights and all this sort of stuff, it's fine for a lot of things, but when it comes to kind of like education and when it comes to like individual people's rights, yeah, that's absolutely not a good thing. So you could have somebody in, a like deeply red state who, when they're teaching history, was teaching that, hey, the Civil War was just a disagreement because, they like didn't like the clothes that they were wearing north of the border. Well, that's fine if you want to think that, but that's not what actually happened. So when you don't have a governing body, when you don't have a body that is over all of the states that is saying no, like, this is what you are going to kind of teach people, and if we find out that you are teaching people knowingly untruths, then you're going to be punished. I think that's an absolutely fantastic thing.
Yeah, and I'll clarify that you did get the reasoning of the Department of Education wrong. For example, every state has their own Department of Education, which chooses the courses to be taught in the schools. So the federal Department of Education has no say on what is taught in schools. The federal Department of Education gives out loans for the like school grants, etc., for low income families to go to college. That's the main purpose of the federal Department of Education, as well as some federal courses and advertisements that happen. The reason why that
right.
the
So
federal,
you think that taking grants away from low income people, you think that's a good thing?
No, I by the way, it's not being happened. What it means is that money is given back to the states, so the states decide where that funding goes, and that can go to the low income families. It cuts out the middleman because
Right,
of that
so
funding. It
could
goes
it-
back to the individual Department of Educations.
Right.
Then
So
it can give out the funding
could
the
you
same.
could you not say then that like the money could be used on like a biased basis? So just for example,
Yes,
if the person who
exactly.
is right, that's not a good thing though, because if you have somebody who is in charge of allocating the money for grants who is profoundly racist, and like as we know, like there's been countless studies on this where it be kind of if it's like a more like a white sounding name, then they might be a little bit more likely to get hired in like a certain job or a certain sector or in a certain or in a certain part of the
Yeah.
country. You can
Quite the
laugh, but the
opposite.
stats are there. Or like versus a more kind of like Mexican or a more black sounding name, that like they are like then less likely to get that. So if you have that same person who is in charge of giving out the grants who is profoundly racist, does that not speak as possibly detrimental to you?
Yes, I agree with you. The only problem is with your argument is that the Department of Education under the Biden-Harris administration has implemented the DEI programs, which has done the opposite. For example, you said that the white men would be prioritized and the black men wouldn't get the jobs, etc., which it's been the opposite for giving out federal funding for the low income families, as if you are black or if you are a minority, they are more likely to give you the funding as if you are white. So I did laugh at that because it's quite the opposite. That's during the Biden and Harris administration. Now, the purpose for bringing the funding back to the states is that the states are biased. For example, if there's some red states, that they will choose where the funding goes based on whatever, if they're Republican or Democrat. But the reasoning is because if, for example, there was a Biden and Harris administration which implemented DEI programs, and some states didn't want that to happen, some red states like Texas, etc., they didn't have a choice. Now they do have a choice, and based on their ideology, the individual state's ideology, they get to disperse those funds accordingly. That's why it's good, and that's why it's free from any bias or DEI programs, which is great, obviously.
But why is DEI bad?
Because it discriminates people on the basis of their skin.
How?
because if you are a black or well, there is black, Native American, Mexican, Latino, etc. They're the main ones now. Asians are excluded. They are put in the front of the line because of race-based quotas, and obviously because of those minorities are in lower incomes, they get a boost in the system. They discriminate not based on meritocracy if they can do the job or not, but they get a boost in proportion to the white candidates.
Right, but I think we've kind of talked about something similar before. If you're kind of if you have two candidates, right, to be like pilots, right, like if you're in charge of hiring the next pilot for your airline, right, and you look at the staff that you currently have and they're all white, and you have a white applicant and you have a Hispanic applicant, what would be the harm in hiring the Hispanic applicant to like broaden to like make the workforce more diverse? Because if they're after getting to the stage where they're even been given an interview for that job, then surely they're qualified, right? So that's not diverse. Like that's not like DEI just for the sake of it. They didn't just pick this guy up off the street. They've never flown a plane before in their lives, and now they're going to give them like a pilot's license. That's just not going to happen. So what is the harm of purposefully diversifying the workplace?
Yes, and if it's diversifying the workplace, given that both candidates are equal, that's fine. Here's the issue, which is that is not DEI policy. For example, if I have a Mexican pilot that is less qualified...
No, I'm sorry, Luca. That absolutely is the point of DEI. DEI was set up so that if you have a federal job application, right? If you have a federal job opening, right? That means that you want to get that job advertisement out like as broadly and to as many people as you possibly can, so that you can even at the stage of just the application stage, that you can diversify the application pool, so that you can get as many people as possible trying out for this one job, right? That is what DEI was supposed to be for. That is supposed to be getting people from different backgrounds and from different different socio-economic backgrounds and from like all of these sorts of things to be able to even have the opportunity to apply for those jobs. That's what DEI was for. That's what it would like. Why is that bad?
In theory that's fine, but in application that's not what happens. And I'll give you an example of this, Stephen, because in a job application, it should just be based on meritocracy, just be based on who can achieve the job better, correct? Without regarding skin color, without regarding gender, none of that should play a factor, just if you are qualified. Is that correct?
Right. Yes, but
okay, but so hold on. I just want to finish my point real quick.
In the way that you're arguing against DEI would be that you would have to come up with an example of someone who hired a pilot who had never flown before. Like in the way that you're describing DEI as a bad thing, and it's not based on merit, and it's not based on like all of these other things, then you should have an example to hand that you're ready to give me at a moment's notice of somebody being hired as a pilot who has never flown before. That's what you should be able to give me. But you can't give me that.
I understand, Stephen. But the factor that it's moving away towards meritocracy is the reason why I obviously disagree with it. For example, if I had two candidates that were qualified for the job. One is a white applicant and one is a Mexican applicant. If the white applicant is more qualified for the job, hence I pass the bar and more, I am actually not chosen over the Mexican applicant that just about passes the bar. Because after a certain point, it's not based on meritocracy. It's just based on the bar. If both candidates pass the bar and the limitations, it is straight given to the diverse or the DEI candidate and not the candidate that is most qualified. As soon as you veer off from meritocracy, then that's discrimination based on your skin. And that's discrimination against white people or against the race-based quotas.
Right.
That's the reason. It's just moving away from meritocracy.
The point is that you cannot give me an exact, like, oh, okay. The point is, like, all of this stuff, what you're saying, that you, oh god, okay, all of the stuff that you were saying about a white applicant who is being purposefully not or who is not hired over some form of like a diversity hire, you like,
Sure.
in order to make that claim, and in order to kind of say all of those sorts of things, there has to be data based on this. There has to be like almost like an epidemic of this happening. But where is that data? Because you've clearly seen it. Otherwise, you wouldn't be up here making this point.
That's in the policies.
Right? So no. I don't care about the policies. Where is the data?
Yes.
That says that there is an epidemic of white people not being hired because of diversity.
But it's in the very definition where diversity plays a factor in the job qualifications. If anything plays a factor except meritocracy, whether or not you deserve the job because of hard work, it's wrong. If diversity plays a factor in meritocracy, in like the hire, obviously you're moving away from meritocracy, and there's race-based quotas, meaning I have to have yay amount of Mexicans, yay amount of white people, yay amount of women, or etc. And it shouldn't be about that at all. We shouldn't have these categories. We should just employ the people that are the best for the job, without looking at race, without looking at gender, without looking at sexuality, anything like that, just based on whether or not you deserve the job. DEI, as the definition, gives value to diversity, saying that a diversity hire is more valuable because they are diverse than a non-diverse hire. This is wrong because it's moving away to whether or not you can do the job or not, and based on discriminating on your diversity, your color, your skin, or your gender, or your sexuality, etc. So giving value to diverse candidates is wrong.
Where's the data? Where's the study that this is an epidemic of people happening?
That's in the very definition that you gave me.
Right. So diversity, equity, and inclusion, right? So that would so that would apply for, or like that would mean that you cannot not hire somebody simply because they're in a wheelchair. That's what DEI is.
Yeah.
That would mean that you cannot that you cannot not hire somebody because they have like a not job altering like some form of like a disability, right? They're like, that's what DEI is. It's not just about about getting folks of different skin colors into a workplace, right? I don't care if you're fucking like pink, orange, or fucking aquamarine, right? It doesn't matter what your skin color is. Like it's not just about getting that into a workplace. It's about getting like the most form of inclusive workplaces you possibly can. And where is the harm in that? So when you have somebody who is like gay, just for example, that would fall under DEI as well. But when you have somebody like that who is applying for a job, giving them that job, like when you are exposed to and when you are around somebody who is of like a different background to you, who is of a different kind of thought pattern to you, who is of a different opinions to you, it gives you the chance to diversify and to possibly even change your mind, given like on these kind of on these pre-existing positions that you have. Where is the harm in that?
Sure. Yeah,
and
again,
unless you can tell me where the data is that this is an epidemic of white people who are now facing unemployment numbers like they've never seen before. Like,
no, I don't care about the white people at all.
Right,
I'm just making the point. I'm just making the point, Stephen, which is you put value on diversity.
You clearly do care about them because you're up here arguing against DEI. And you think
and I'll tell you why.
And you think that DEI negatively affects white people. So why would you now say that you don't care about it?
I think it negatively affects white people, Asian people, and Indian people. That's in the stats for Harvard on the DEI applicants, because the Asian students, that are the majority of people that enter Harvard, are moved to the bottom of the list, at the back of whatever. Just a final thing, because I know everybody wants me out of here, Stephen, which is DEI in your definition gives value to diversity in, whatever, hiring or candidates, etc. Correct? It gives value and diversity.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. And that giving value in diversity is wrong, because if there is a candidate, you want the most qualified candidate. It shouldn't be based on diversity. It shouldn't be based on sexuality. It shouldn't be based on gender, etc. That's why meritocracy on who deserves the job or not is the most important. You can't have a system where it says, well, you're diverse, so you're going to be more valuable than somebody who deserves it more. It shouldn't be about skin color or gender or sexuality.
But it's not just about that, Luca. This is the thing, man. Like, I know that I kind of said this as like a flippant and like an almost like a ridiculous example, but I mean, it's almost like you're arguing that that's what's happening. There is not an airline in this country or in the US or in any country who is hiring somebody simply because they are of a different ethnicity,
American
who has
Airlines?
never flown before. That's who has never flown before.
Yes.
You're really wanting to make that claim. So if I look up that American Airlines has hired a pilot who has never flown before, that's going to yield some form of a result, is it?
Steve, unfortunately, I would go far to say that I agree with your point. You are just not characterizing my point in the same way. Can you remember the tweet from Charlie Kirk that said that if a woman pilot I would feel uneasy if there was a woman pilot? American Airlines
he's just sexist.
Released the DEI.
Yeah,
Yes,
he's
American,
just sexist.
And I'll tell you, which is that American Airline released that 50% of their pilots are going to be women by 2030, for example.
Yeah, sure. Why
Why not? Yes, if 90% of the pilots are men and 10% of the pilots are women, that means if I were to have a 50-50 pilot ratio, then obviously I would be sacrificing meritocracy over gender.
No.
You understand?
No.
Yes.
Oh my God, this is exactly this. Oh my God, you are unironically arguing the most ridiculous hypothetical that I could think of in the moment. You are unironically arguing that somebody is going to be hired simply because they are a woman and not because they are equally as qualified.
I'm not
That's
saying that.
unironically what you are. Yes, it is. Yes, it absolutely is. That is exactly what you just argued. That's exactly what you just said. That's what you just said, Luca.
Stephen, I'm saying that they are given the value of a woman.
That's what you just said.
They are giving women more value because they are a woman, not based on their ability.
But
that's why. When you say I want a quota of 50%,
but if they are qualified,
and 50% women,
Luca, if they are qualified and if they are just as able and as they have the same amount of flight hours, they have the same amount of fucking everything, then why not? Because the example you're saying that they are going to be hired simply because they are a minority above somebody with no experience, when they have a candidate who is a white man who has all of the experience, that's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. They're not going to hire somebody simply because they are a woman and they are not nearly as qualified as a white man. That's simply just not going to happen.
Stephen, if we said that all the bus drivers by 2030 are going to be African Irish, for example, do you believe that in the hiring process they would prioritize African drivers? Yes or no?
I think that would be something that they would say in order to boost kind of like a favorable view on them by the public. I don't actually think that they would like literally make as in a 50-50 split on like
Well, that's what
African Irish
American Airlines
drivers
said.
versus like white Irish drivers. I don't like, but also it doesn't fucking matter to me. It literally doesn't matter to me. If I get onto a plane and it's a woman pilot, well, like, I don't have any sort of a reaction to that. In the exact same way as if it was a male pilot, like
Yeah, I agree.
I would have the exact same thought process of I hope they don't crash the plane. Like that would be the only
get you.
thing. It doesn't matter to me, like, again, whether they're pink, fucking yellow, or aquamarine. It doesn't matter what fucking skin color or what ethnicity or what fucking dangly bit of flesh they have between their legs. That doesn't matter to me. I would have the exact same fucking answer, or like the same thought process. So I hope they don't crash the fucking plane. Like it's just as simple as that.
In the hiring process, they're giving priority to women, correct?
They can be making an extra effort to hire women. That does not mean that they are getting like an automatic priority, and that like meritocracy has just gone out the window. That does not mean
No,
that.
it's saying that meritocracy is diluted as they're giving women more
Right. Okay.
priority in
So
the hiring process.
essentially what you are saying is that all of like women or any form of not a white man is by definition not as qualified as a white man. Because look, if it's not that, I would love you to take the fucking L on that and admit that that's your stance, because I'm quite frankly, if it's not your stance, I have no idea where you are coming from. I just simply just
Sure.
do not know.
Sure. Yeah, and that is okay. I think we're going around in circles here, Stephen. So I'm gonna end it because I'm gonna, we're gonna throw a party for all the rest of the people in their lives once I leave. I just
Okay.
want to say this final thing, and this is the final thing, which is that I am not saying that women are less qualified. I'm not saying that black people are less qualified. I'm not saying that gay people are less qualified. Yeah. And that's not what I'm saying. In fact, I don't have an issue if there is a black person on the plane that's piloting the plane or anything. My argument is that if there is a priority, I want a priority of 50% women, I want a priority of black women or whatever, that naturally those candidates are going to be pushed to the front of the line over maybe a hence more qualified other person,
No, that's just not gonna
Latino
happen.
or Asian or
If
whatever.
there's no,
Well, if you
that's
say that
just-
there's 50% that's women are going to be hired, then of course that's what you have to do. Now we can agree to disagree. If we agree to disagree, I'll leave. That's no problem. But again, I think it's quite obvious. But again, we can agree to disagree on that, Stephen. There's no hate.
Yeah, no, look, like we can agree just for the kind of sake of moving on. The next time that you pop up, though, Luca, I want to talk to you about politics. All right?
Sure, absolutely.
All right,
All right.
man. Have a good one.
Have a
I'll
great
talk
day.
to you soon.
No problem. All right, bye bye.
All right. They're not there. How you doing, man?
Hello, my name is Sarah. I'm 22 and my pronouns is she, her.
Okay. What do you disagree with? Why is your username Scott Ryan?
I'm using my brother's account.
Okay.
I'd like to think that you want to do that salute.
Can't hear a word you're saying.
I don't think Elon did that salute.
Okay. Why not?
Because he has no motive, really.
Are you sitting on the phone? Like, you're extremely muffled. I cannot like hear you properly at all.
Sorry, is that better now?
No.
Is it better now?
Yeah.
I think Elon is autistic. And he didn't mean to do it.
Okay. I'm autistic. I've never done that before. I never would do that.
Yeah, he was overwhelmed by the crowd.
Okay. Who's whispering hints to you?
You smacked that. You smacked.
Thanks for the thanks for the gifts, Scott. You know, you gave quite a lot of them there, so you know, absolutely thank you for that. But yeah, no, he did. Yeah, he got his sister, or like, oh my god, I was going to look. It could be a whole 23 cent. I don't give a fuck how much it is. The point is, like, regardless of how much I got from all of those gifts, he spent quite a lot of more more money on buying the coins to send those gifts than I got. So he spent an awful lot more than 23 cents. But even if it was 23 cents, Jesus fucking Christ, you honestly, it could have been his girlfriend. I don't believe I genuinely believe that the last time that he touched a vagina was on the way out. So no, I don't think that was his girlfriend. Yeah, it's Jesus Christ. Also, okay, so just a little bit of housekeeping. There was an awful lot of people during the last conversation with Luca who was saying that Luca was using a slur. He was not using a slur. So, like, can we please just stop? Fun fact, he was a Petri dish boy. Yeah, probably. Oh god, I don't know. It's not that, okay, look, it's not that I always get a little bit nervous when there are people in chat who are also waiting to come up, or like, you know, bring me up. It's not that I get a little bit kind of like apprehensive on that, and like, but like, because I know that like I personally have done it in like somebody else's live and stuff like that, like, but it's just it just immediately gets the fucking radars of like, is this a troll just flying off? But you know what, even in just the effort of just kind of, if anything, fucking weeding them out and getting them out of here, just okay.
Hello.
How you doing? What's your name, age, and pronouns?
Good, how are you? My name is Mehbud. 18, and I think you can guess my pronouns by my voice.
No, not necessarily. Do you want to tell me your pronouns?
I'm a he, him.
Okay, and what do you disagree with?
That trans men can be women.
Yeah, that's pretty much all that we have talked about tonight. Pick another topic.
I mean, the salute sounds pretty extreme. Why
I
do you
agree,
think
it's
he
an
did it?
extreme salute, yeah.
But why do you think he did that? You don't just go, you don't raise your hand to say thank you guys, or put your hand to your
Not
heart
like
and say
that.
my heart out.
Not like that.
Why, just
no.
because he had his palm open?
No, because he completely and utterly replicated that hand movement that was done in you know, 40s Germany, and the Proud Boys have like basically said like, oh my god, he is one of us. The fact that Elon never actually denied it until about two months later, when he was sitting across from Joe Rogan whilst he jerked him off under the table with his feet. Like, he never actually once fucking denied that that's what he did. Because if it was me, not that I would ever be in this fucking situation, but if it was me and there was people that were saying that I did that and was pointing to some video clip that I had done, like, Jesus, like, you bet your fucking ass, am I fucking denying it? And I'm not going to either stop apologizing that that's what people saw, or I'm definitely at the minimum going to talk about it. Elon never mentioned it.
I mean, so I'm just gonna talk a little bit about Trump here. So I don't like. I mean, I do like Trump, but I do think some of the things he's doing right now in the U.S. kind of resemble what that person did in Germany. I'm not gonna lie.
All right.
With like, yeah, culture cleansing, Palestine, and everything like that. Like that sounds way too extreme, and it just sounds like history is repeating itself. Unfortunately, um, so
True.
that's my stand on Trump. I do think he's doing some things that are very shady and similar to someone that we know. But
Sure.
honestly, the Elon salute, I think the media just saw it and ran with it. I think it's very, you know, I'm not gonna support Elon because that guy. I'm not. He's stupid. Like yes, he's a genius, but some of the stuff he does is like it's not normal. You know what I mean? I don't think he's right in the head. So
Yeah,
maybe honestly, I'm
I
not.
don't think he's a genius. Not even close.
How do you think he built his wealth?
I think that he took an awful lot of the money that his daddy earned from his emerald mine. He took it to the US. He took a fuck ton of government subsidies in order to kind of fund his businesses. He hired a bunch of the right people who actually went along and invented all of the things that he is like credited with inventing, and took credit for it.
But then that doesn't. We can't discredit him by not like the guy is smart. Like he does things right. He builds rocket ships. He he makes
Well,
cars.
no,
Like he
no.
built.
He doesn't build rocket ships. He didn't build a car. He didn't do any of that. He is the CEO of the companies that has done that. It is his engineers and his employees that have done those.
But you know, without I've never honestly I haven't had this conversation with anyone.
Right.
But
But has Tim Cook ever built an iPhone?
like him personally, I don't think so.
Right, so just because you're the CEO of a company does not mean that you are responsible for building the phone. So just because Elon is the CEO of Tesla does not mean that he is responsible for building the cars.
But he built Tesla. He built the company.
He built the company, yeah, but he didn't build the car. Also, no,
But
he
you don't.
didn't. Also, no, he didn't. He essentially, depending on how you kind of view it, I would say stole Tesla from its original co-founders.
How's that?
Yeah, sure. So he sold PayPal in 2004, I think it might have been, and he invested $6.1 million into Tesla, and then kind of like essentially publicly fucking shamed the or slammed the company. Basically said that like, yeah, no, I'm just going to let the car people do what they do and just like let my money kind of basically coast. But then as soon as like Tesla started to get some positive like press coverage and like all of these sorts of things, then he invested a bunch more money into the company. He got a seat on the board of directors. He voted out the existing CEO, and then when he started referring to himself as the founder of Tesla, the two original co-founders sued him. He lost that case, but a condition of him losing the case was that essentially he bought the title of founder, so he can now legally refer to himself as the founder of Tesla, but he absolutely did not start the company. He bought it.
That might be correct. I don't have too much information on how those things. So I'll give that to you. That's your point. Honestly, I came up here to talk about the trans topic, but I guess you talk to other people about that.
It's just all I've talked about tonight, so I'm just interested
Yeah,
in
I
some different
understand.
conversations. That's all, man.
Okay, no problem, no problem. I'm gonna let someone else come up. But I appreciate you talking to me.
No problem at all, man. No problem at all.
Have a good day.
Do pop back and we'll talk about the
For sure.
trans topic. All right.
For sure. Have a good day.
You too, man.
Bye.
How you doing? What's your name, age, and pronouns?
Hi there. I'm Cian, 18 years old, he, him, all that. What's
You
it?
been up here
What's the
before?
thing? Oh, nah, never.
You sure?
Fucking smack my head, smack my head, smack my head.
Yeah. Yeah. These people must think I'm really fucking stupid because, like, I absolutely know, like, I know, man. I can see you coming a fucking mile away. It's pathetic at this stage, honestly. How you doing? What's your name,
I
age,
had
and
two
pronouns?
questions for you. So my
Yeah.
name's Josh. I don't really have any pronouns. You can call me whatever the hell you want. Because of my profession, I've dealt with whatever.
Okay. And how old are you?
27.
All right. What's your two questions?
So that salute, what is that referring to? Because I'm genuinely in the dark about that.
Yeah, so that would be the salute that was most famous in the 40s in Germany.
Oh, okay. And then the other question is the MAGA is uneducated. What do you mean
Yeah.
about that?
So it essentially just means that MAGA consistently, they have done since 2016, they have been voting against their best interests. They have been voting against class consciousness. They have been voting for the interests of millionaires and billionaires, all the while they kind of struggle to make ends meet and put food on the table. They worship Trump like he's some form of a god. It doesn't take you very long to, if you scroll on the TikTok lives, to have some ludicrously photoshopped version of Trump's face onto a jacked person's body that is literally just ridiculous. The man is not only the color of a tangerine, but he's morbidly obese. Like people literally just think that like he is like literally a fucking, like he is a god. People are now referring to him as a king. Like, I just feel like shaking them and
That's
just being
stupid.
like, your ancestors fought a revolutionary war to get away from kings. They would be ashamed of you. So yeah, I mean, like, that would be why I would say that MAGA is uneducated.
Okay, well that's fairly understandable because I know for a fact I've seen a lot of stuff where there's a bunch of diehards that are that way.
Mhm.
But I'm only asking because I would definitely say I am for MAGA, and I have different opinions, like about the way Trump's going. Some of it's good, some of it's not so good.
Okay.
He's kind of just taking it good. The reason why I wanted to debate the uneducated part is from my point of view, uneducated is kind of based on your perspective, because some of us have kind of done more research into different topics, and so like there are certain topics that we could be more educated in and couldn't be. You saying that we're going against the best interest, from what I have read and kind of have seen and done my research into, that we are going for our best interest.
Okay, and what? And I mean, like, why would that be your best interest?
Because there shouldn't be somebody in our social security funds that's 150 years old.
That's just ludicrous. That is not the case.
So how so? Because I've read 4 or 5 different articles online that have all said that's pretty true and accurate. The thing that I don't really believe in is the
Okay, so
person
what
that
would be
I
the
have
source?
found online that said.
What's the source?
If I remember correctly, it was like U.S. News is one of them. I can't really tell you the other ones. This was like 2 or 3 weeks ago when I looked all this up because I didn't know how much to actually believe in, and right now I don't really have access to really look it up unless I pull it up on my phone. But then I'll leave your chat, so...
Yeah, no, I mean, if you want to take a second to look that up on your phone where it's been actually verified, it doesn't matter to me if you're, like, silent for a minute or two. Because I'd be interested to know.
What do you
know?
mean by verified?
I mean,
'Cause I
verified to be,
know-
like, as in verified to be proven to be true. What? Like,
Yeah, that's kind of where
if
I have
you're-
issues.
If you're so well, that's that's a massive fucking red flag, dude. If you're saying that you have issues with the information that you're sharing being verified as being true, like that's
No, I was going with something else because I found sources, not really, like, this is where I'm saying I have issues, is I have found sources that says who exactly that 150-year-old person is, which is what I don't know if it's true or not true.
right. But should it not be the point then that you verify and like that it is true rather than just reading it in an article and then coming onto someone's live and saying that it is true? When you now just admitted that you don't even know that it is true?
No, the part that I do believe is true, yes, there is somebody that has verified or that is trying to claim that they're 150 euros on Social Security. The part that I'm unsure if it is true is who everyone keeps saying it is. Because I have read a few articles that say it's this person, which is why I'm not saying a name, is because I don't actually believe it. But I do 100%
So does that not
believe
lend
somebody is
itself
holding
to
Social
be
Security.
right? So does that not lend itself to being not true? The entire thing that there is not somebody who is 150 years old claiming Social Security. Does that, like, considering that you've read all of these articles and you know, in one article it says that the guy's name is John, and in the other article it says that the guy's name is fucking Billy Bob, and in the last article it says that his name is Jimmy, like, do you not think that like it gives off the scent that it's not true?
No, because no matter what side you go on, Democrat or Republican, say you get one story from the Democrat side, it's going to say something else. Every story in the history period has some truth to it. There is always stuff that is twisted towards one side or the other. Like the example I can give you is that salute, depending on who you talk to, is depending on people's perspective and depending on if it's twisted or not.
But it doesn't matter about like your like what source, whether it's left or right leaning. I don't need a left or a right leaning source to pull up a video of Elon doing that salute right next to a Proud Boy or a Neo Schmatzi or Mustache Man himself, like a literal side-by-side video of them doing it to say that it's the same fucking salute. I don't need a left or a right source to be able to prove that. I just need, like, Photoshop.
Yeah, but no, I believe there is stuff, no matter what, that you may think that we're uneducated, but from our sources and what we go through, just... You believe that we're uneducated, we believe that we're educated. We just see different sides of two separate tokens, and that's honestly the way I see it.
But you, like, but you have to, at a minimum, see where I'm coming from when you came onto this live to disagree with the fact that MAGA are uneducated. And the one thing that you have brought up so far was that there was a 150-year-old person who was claiming Social Security, which is a statement that you have not independently verified.
Yeah, because there's really no way for me to independently verify it unless I have access to government records.
Well, no, there absolutely is. You would be able to find out exactly who the person is, because if Doge is actually doing its job properly. There is a shit ton of background noise. I understand that you're outside and there's, to a degree, there's not very much you can do about it, but Jesus. Okay.
Oh, sorry, give me 1 sec. I'm heading inside. It's I just walked into a really windy spot. I'm walking in right now.
Right, but I would just say that the... Oh god, what the fuck was I saying? I've completely and utterly lost my train of thought. Chat, what was I saying?
It was about how I came into a live kind of uneducated.
Yes. That that you came into a live and you said that this was your one and only point, and you are just saying that it is true. Like, you have not independently. Oh yes, that's what I was saying. If Doge is doing its job as it said that it was going to do, and that it was going to be as transparent as you have never seen before. Well, a good way of being transparent when you're making claims such as there is a 150-year-old person, and by the way, that's not even the oldest. The oldest was a 360 person. So I mean, like, if you have their names, if you have their details, which Doge has access to, otherwise how would it find these, like, how would it have known how to find these people? Surely you should know what their names are. It's the Department of Government Efficiency. This is about rooting out fraud. It's about rooting out wasteful spending. It had brought to light all of these people into their 150, 200, 250, 300 years of age. But we don't know any of their names. That's wild, right?
Yeah, not knowing names is wild, but the way like I see it,
wild.
which is kind of where I get where you're coming from.
If I came onto this live and I said that like, sorry guys that I was late, I was supposed to start at 8:30, but I didn't start until 9 because I was feeding my pet dragon. After he kind of, after like I had done like an aerial tour of Ireland, and like he was breathing fire. It took out a great big bunch of birds. It was fantastic. Would you believe me just because I said it? Or would you need some independent, verifiable evidence?
Honestly, this is where I'm at. If
you tell me that you believe that I was fucking on the back of a fire-breathing dragon, I literally don't know what to do, man.
Well, like in this day and age, no. But if we were like in something else and you were to tell me that, I would believe you to a certain extent, but I would go to look it up.
So clearly the independent, verifiable facts is what you would go to believe me. So why would it not be that thing that you go to believe Elon? Or do you just believe it because, it was Elon that said it?
No, the only reason why I believed it was because I found 3 or 4 different websites that I trusted.
But they all gave you different names.
They didn't give me any names. All it literally said was there's a 150-year-old and they're doing an investigation to figure out who it was.
But you said that they gave different names. That's what you said earlier in the chat. There are people here. There are people here who can verify that that's what you said.
So I can't really say anything about that one. To my knowledge, there's only one name that comes to my mind that I know of, but I didn't specifically say. But I know that there is different things that I have seen online, completely different websites that said there's a 150-year-old person. Oh, okay. Well, I did say that. Then I apologize because I did see somebody on the chat that said I did say that.
Right. So, but I mean, like, what those websites could be referring to is that Elon made the claim that there is a 150-year-old person who is claiming Social Security. Right. Not that like agency or that organization have sent their journalists out and they found out who this person is. Like, they could just be reporting on the fact that that's what Elon said, but not necessarily that is true.
Yeah, that's fairly understandable. That's really the only thing I can really say right now regarding that. Just, you're not wrong, and I can't really argue with you on that one. I just mainly wanted to say that, like, there is stuff that I just personally hate it because, like, I kind of feel targeted because I've done a lot of research into the stuff that I'm trying to say. This 150-year-old thing, nah, I'm gonna be honest, haven't really done a lot of research into it. There was like 3 or 4 articles that said it was this one specific person that I don't know how much to actually believe about it, but from what I have seen, there hasn't really been any concrete 100% in fact evidence of exactly who it is. But I am gonna let you go. I do appreciate this debate and this conversation. It
All right, man.
definitely opened my eyes, and I will try and find some more facts next time I come into somebody's live and talk about it. So I do appreciate this and opening my eyes a little bit.
All right, man. All right. Well,
So
take
you have
care.
a great day.
You too, man.
Hello, my
How you
name
doing?
is. Oh yeah, my name is Kian, and I'm 18, and my pronouns are he/him. I just want to go back to 2 debates ago, like before I kind of go off what you have here. You were talking with Guy for quite a long time, and he was saying that Elon was a genius. Do you remember that?
Mm-hmm.
And you argued that he isn't a genius.
Yeah.
And why would you say that?
Well, if you were there for that debate, then you would have heard exactly why I think he wasn't a genius.
I mean, I wasn't like really tuned in, I suppose. Could you please kind of emphasize why he said that?
Okay. You been on here before, man?
And I haven't been on.
You sure about that?
Yeah, no, I haven't been on.
All right. Yeah, so the reason why I think that he is not a genius is because he hasn't actually invented like absolutely anything. He has bought his way into the position that he is in now. He has he kind of goes around masquerading as 160 IQ individual when he is more like probably kind of 80 to 90 IQ individual. I think that the idea that not only himself but also other people are talking about the fact that he is autistic as a way of excusing that that salute.
I'm not arguing
I
the
think that
salute.
that's absolutely just ridiculous. But yeah, no,
I think. Sorry, you go ahead.
No, go on ahead.
I think that to get that much sort of wealth, he must be in some way, at least I wouldn't class him as a genius, but there's some way he has a high level of intelligence to be able to amass that type of wealth and to get into a position he's in now, an unelected government official, you could say.
Not necessarily, man. No. So I mean, like you can, like as I had said before, like when he got like a bunch of money from his dad's emerald mine back in South Africa, like he came over here. Yeah, sure, he made a couple of smart investments that has now made him an awful lot of money, but that does not mean he's a genius. Like you can accidentally make an awful lot of smart investments.
Yeah, I mean, like, you're saying he's not a genius, but realistically, you're probably working like a 30 grand a year job at Omniplex, and Laura Didle and Christine Bailey are.
Wow. All right. Okay. So. Wow. Person who doxed me came on here. God damn. That's what that's about. The person that doxed me came on to here. Wow. He actually doesn't think I know who he is. That's crazy. That's absolutely crazy. That is absolutely crazy. Chat, what was his username? There you are. There you are. You leave something, yeah. Okay, guys, anybody who is in here who is saying the names of anything that he mentioned, you are getting fucking banned, man. Like he's up here fucking talking about people that I know in my personal life. You just simply just get fucking banned. Like it's just as simple as that. Wait, I should dox him back? No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. Who's that? The name that some people are saying is, you know, I mean, it's like friends of mine, people that I have known for a very, very long time. Wait, do I know that guy? I know who he is. I don't know him kind of personally or anything. I know who he is though. So yeah, that's now two examples, you know what I mean? So realistically, he doesn't know where I work. No, he got that bit wrong. That's the same voice that's been trolling. There's one with the sister. Yeah, that's what I thought as well. Yeah, listen, guys. Look at. I'm not saying that I'm going to be taking a break from TikTok lives or anything else like that. I think just for the moment, I'm going to kind of go back to what I had been kind of doing on my channel for a very long time, which is just kind of covering kind of like news stories and stuff like that. So, yeah, I'm going to take a massive break from TikTok debates, just because at the stage of what it's after getting to now, there's an awful lot of people in here who have gotten like way too fucking close to you know, me and my kind of family and like friends and stuff like that. So yeah, like it's kind of wild. I don't want to either. I don't want to take a break because I love doing these types of debates. Like I actually really like it. But yeah, no, look, it's too close, guys, you know, because like, look, I'm not letting him get to me. Genuine. No. Okay. No. Hang on. Just everyone, just for 2 moments, okay? It's after getting to a point now where the idea that I can go on to a live, and that there are people who are like kind of bringing my kind of family members and are bringing my my friends and stuff like that into it. Like they're not involved in this. They're not involved in, like, you know, anything that I do on this, and so kind of bringing them into it unnecessarily, it's not what I'm here for, you know. So that's not why I came onto TikTok. I came onto TikTok to have debates and stuff like that. So yeah, like, it's taking it to the real world is wild. Yeah, absolutely. You know, like, look at, like, I'm on here sharing my opinions. If you disagree with me, that's fine. Don't bring my fucking family into this. Don't bring my friends into this. Don't bring my loved ones into this. Right? Just do not fucking do that. It is absolutely not fucking cool. Okay? It is not cool. Just don't do that. So, yeah, I'm going to take a break from TikTok lives. Just for a little while. I will be back. But, you know, just at the moment, it's just gotten a little bit too kind of close to home, you know, and it's a little bit, it's not good, you know. It's just not good, you know. And, like, look, I understand that I've kind of come on to here, and that there have been people who disagree with me and people who don't, you know, for like some reason kind of like me or anything else. That's fine. If you don't agree with me, you don't agree with me. but that doesn't mean that you bring people that I know into this. Just doesn't mean that. So yeah, okay. I'm going to take a break. I'm going to sign off on TikTok. And yeah, I will be back soon. I will be back soon. All right, so all right. Okay, yeah. This has been wild. It's been really not productive and stuff like that. 2B2 something, that comment about, yeah, no friends, yeah, look, I mean, like, genuinely, if you're honestly on here and you're kind of like, you're like because look, listen, it's not even as if I've been doing TikTok lives for that long. Like, I genuinely haven't. I don't understand, like, why it's gotten to, like, me, as in, like, literally, like, why it has gotten to the point where, like, people have gone after me in this way, like, being fucking doxxed and stuff like that. Like, it's not, guys, Stephen is my first name. That is the only kind of thing that is about me that is on this channel that is, like, actually to do with, like, my, like, like, my kind of accurate information. And I've done it that way for a reason. Stephen, because that's my fucking name, and, you know, like, it's whatever, right? Like, it's the name that I fucking respond to, for God's sake. But I've set it up in that way so that my fucking, like, my personal life is not dragged into this. Like, you have to understand, like, I do this because it's fun. I do this because it's enjoyable for me. I do this because it's like, it's something that I enjoy doing. And when people are kind of coming onto here and when are like saying, like, and are bringing my family into it, like, it's not about them, you know, and it's even potentially hurting them. And you don't hurt my family. You just don't. You just don't. So, yeah, look, I don't know, honestly, when my next live is going to be. I was planning on being live for another hour and a half, probably. I don't know when it's going to be, honestly. I genuinely don't. It's been fucking wild. It really has. Yeah. It is, because this is something that I enjoy doing, but I'm now at the kind of point of, you know, can I even do it? Because as much as I enjoy doing this, and I really do, I'm not gonna continue doing this if it's gonna drag my fucking family into this. Like, this is not as important as that, you know? But anyway, I got some thinking to do. I got some investigations to do. See if that who came in and who was in the TikTok lives and everything else, if that was the same person as who came into the Discord server and doxed me and stuff like that. As I said, got someone that I know who's into kind of computer science, tracking IP addresses and all that sort of stuff. Handy people to know. They're handy people to know. So anyway, yeah, I'm going to sign off for now. I don't know when I will be back, but I will be. I will be. Until then, like, subscribe, do all that YouTuber bollocks, and I'll talk to you in the next one.